Who are Iron Shell? Where do they come from? What do they eat? Do they have cool ships? How about their weapons? Where do all the gorgeous tax ladies come from? Were they born this century? Do they even work here? Or is it all just IRS propaganda? You may have paid your sector taxes before, or maybe this is your first time. Together, we'll be making an audit of this Starsector faction mod. Consider subscribing to the channel and finding your tax haven today. If you think the tax jokes end here, ho ho ho, strap yourself in. Nobody is exempt from this wild ride. I'm IroncladLion, and this is Iron Shell. The Iron Shell faction mod is co-authored by Timid and Selkie, and was first posted to the Fractal Softworks forum on April 1st, 2020. These two are an extremely talented duo. Timid is a Starsector modding veteran, having published several great mods such as Commission Crews, Better Colonies, Supply Forging, Content Unlocking Missions, and Too Much Information. 5 out of the 6 mods he's created made it into the top 50 Starsector mod list, and his partner Selkie is one of the best Starsector ship spriters the game has ever seen. While Iron Shell may be the crown jewel, there are hundreds, hell, maybe even thousands of Starsector ships Selkie has created, with only a small fraction of them ever released to the public. This image is but a glimpse into Selkie's secret shipyard. Taking a look at the credit section, you'll notice the most stacked lineup you've ever seen, with almost every legendary Starsector modder listed in some way. I don't know if you know this, but they're kind of a big deal. And understanding the lore of Iron Shell is also a big deal, with a heavy focus on integration into the established history of the Persian sector. There's a nice lore dropdown on the mod page, but I'll condense the important bits. Gates shut down, collapse happens, and Battlegroup 14 is put into emergency cryosleep, ending up stranded on the fringes of the Persian sector. This is referred to as the Cold Passage. This is year or cycle 0 and the start of our timeline. Roughly 80 cycles later, a reclamation fleet funded by the Hegemony Ministry of Commerce is sent out to retrieve what remains of the 14th Battlegroup. This is a pretty large endeavor, as it takes roughly 100 cycles for this reclamation fleet to return. The expedition is successful, and the crew of Battlegroup 14 are thawed out as safely as possible over several cycles. The highest ranking officer among the survivors, Lieutenant Kim Koi, is reinstated into Hegemony fleet leadership. Roughly 10 cycles after the thaw, Kim Koi and her subordinates valiantly defend the Naraka system from a tri-tachyon offensive. She quickly rises through military ranks, becoming a member of the Hegemony Executive Council. Cycle 200 after the collapse, a charter is signed by High Hegemon Baikal Dodd, establishing Iron Shell as a militarized commerce division of the Hegemony, and transferring governorship of the planets Chicomoztoc and Yami to Counselor Kim Kui. Cycle 206, present day, Kim Kui leads Iron Shell, and the player arrives in Sector. Kim's an important figure, which we'll be talking more about later, but let's get our bearings. As part of Iron Shell's careful integration into the sector, the faction not only resides within the vanilla core worlds, it also inhabits entirely vanilla planets. Located in the established Naraka system on the far eastern side of the core worlds, Iron Shell controls the planets of Yami and Chicomoztoc. If you are familiar with the vanilla Naraka, this system is still shared with the hegemony planets of Yama and Nachiketa, although the vanilla Yami and Chicomoztoc are quite barren. Let's start with Chicomoztoc, originally a harsh, frozen world with just a small mining colony. During the first AI war, the mining colony was hit with what you could call a disproportionate orbital bombardment. This resulted in an unforeseen terraforming, resulting in the liquefaction of the planet's glaciers, eventually warming the planet to become a water world. Oh, sorry, planet warming is still a little touchy in the hegemony. After Chicomoztoc's meteorological character was invigorated and atmospheric conditions had stabilized, the hegemony settled the planet. Many cycles later, Chicomoztoc would become the resort headquarters of Iron Shell. Resort world? Really? Being the headquarters of the faction, it's where you'll find the top brass. Chicomoztoc, rather an odd name, isn't it? Well, Chicomoztoc is a deity who records the actions of human beings. Upon their death, these deeds are read aloud to the god of death, Yama. Sound familiar? Yama then decides if they go to Svarga or Naraka. This I find rather poetic, as Iron Shell determines whether you've been naughty or nice and paid your taxes. If not, you'll most likely get in trouble with Big Papa God of Death, Hegemony. If you were wondering wondering where we ended up, Svarga is heaven. Yami, by contrast, is an unforgiving planet hosting an underground penal colony. Emphasis on the underground. Prison wardens allegedly hold auctions, raising funds for the prison by selling baked goods. Where the f do you think we are? They auction off the prisoners. It's unknown what becomes of these prisoners, but there are rumors of head patting and hand holding. While I can't reveal how to find these alleged auctions, there are others you may wish to see on Yami. When it comes to those you might meet in Ironshell, they may look somewhat familiar. The portraits of Ironshell are done by CY/Milky Dramata, who you may know from other projects. There's a good variation between the portraits, and they characterize the various roles within the faction, including one of my favorite portraits.
What's your type?
Space Marine Mommy.
Don't have one. And naturally, good art should be paired with a good soundtrack. The background music you are hearing was done by Hannah Wubb and sets the tone of Ironshell quite nicely. Let's give it a quick listen. A dramatic and imposing violin, yet retaining a refined harmony. The Ironshell theme fits perfectly with Starsector. I've listened to this music for many hours while refitting ships, and as far as mod soundtracks go, it hits just right. Other assets such as planet art and sound design of the weapons, wings, and ships are top-notch as well. And you know I wouldn't bring up ships unless it was time for the Ironshell Fleet Doctrine. What's essential to a successful fleet? There are many answers to this question, but the correct one is aesthetics. Selkie understands this better than most, as every ship in the Ironshell lineup appears as if carefully chiseled from marble, sculpted into a goddess of war, dipped into black and orange paint, and then dry brushed with precision that make a miniatures fan lose the November challenge. For me, it's the black and orange. The Ironshell paint is bolder than that of the Hegemony, allowing easier identification. I've rocked that color scheme in every game I can for the last 10 years. Even my car is black and orange. So when it comes to Ironshell, I'm extremely biased, and I don't care. The Ironshell Fleet Doctrine leans heavily into battle carriers, with over half of Ironshell ships including fighter bays, some with specialized escort wings. Built tough, with heavy armor plating akin to that of other low-tech designs, Ironshell battle carriers can be found at the front lines of any engagement. The drawback of housing these fighter bays is that Ironshell ships lack weapon mounts, relying on escort wings to make up for sparse point defense. The ship systems of Ironshell seem to be inspired by the three techniques of sword fighting seen elsewhere: strike, dance, and parry, the only exception being the renown, which we'll talk about shortly. Following the first technique, strike, we have the Indomitable, Flagellator, Tyrant, Vanguard, and in a more broad sense, the Courageous. The Indomitable, Flagellator, and Vanguard can utilize a lock-on ram to quickly move into striking range of an enemy vessel. The Courageous, being of frigate class, instead sends kamikaze drones to do the ramming. When deployed as a group, these ships can be quite scary. Of the second technique, dance, we have the Audacious and Endeavor. The jump thruster lets both of these ships make quick boosts in any direction, granting a lot of flexibility in the heat of combat. While not as flashy as high-tech options, it has a short cooldown, and trust me when I say that a little thrust can go a long ways in keeping your ships operational. For the final and most complex technique, parry, we have the Vengeance and Valorous. Both of these ships can redirect enemy missiles within a limited radius. The caveat to this parry mechanic is timing. A successful parry will result in a brief stat boost, while a botched parry results in a temporary debuff. Buff and debuff aside, this is an incredibly fun mechanic when used effectively.
Ready for the show? Abracadabra, alakazam!
Zam.
Oh, looks like I pulled off a little misdirection.
In addition to the newly developed Iron Shell designs, the mod also serves as an expansion to the Hegemony XIVth Battlegroup, as lore-wise, a significant part of the battlegroup has been recovered. Many of these designs are simply up-armored refits of familiar vessels, and fit nicely into both Hegemony and Iron Shell fleets. But where did these designs come from? After the first AI war, which devastated much of the sector, House Celeste were able to acquire several captured Champion cruisers. Originally of Persian League design, the Champion houses a rather uncommon large hybrid mount, overhauled with salvaged 14th Battlegroup materials and installed with the Annihilation Protocol system. The Champion has become a versatile powerhouse of the 14th Battlegroup, with the successful conversions to 14th Battlegroup standards and their accounts bolstered by hefty Hegemony credit transfers. House Celeste sought their next major project, the Sky Splitter. Featuring oversized flux capacitors, House Celeste wanted to install an even larger version of the Champion's Annihilation Protocol system as part of the conversion process. Despite several tax-deductible lab accidents, House Celeste's researchers and engineers succeeded in developing one of the most deadly 14th Battlegroup vessels. As the name implies, the Sky Splitter can rend enemy ships in two. Unlike most Hegemony ships, the Sky Splitter features twin large energy mounts, allowing it to mount some of the more exotic weapons in the sector. Described as the scalpel to the Onslaught's hammer, the Sky Splitter is an extremely powerful ship in the right hands. If you are looking for a ship with a high skill ceiling, we better take a look at the Iron Shell prototypes. The Valorous prototype frigate, shrouded in mystery and an extremely rare sight in the sector. Its combat ability attributed to the highly classified Zendatsu subsystems. But more surprisingly is that the only crew member aboard is the pilot, which I don't mind.
Welcome back, pilot. I've missed you.
We are so back. The pilot, and an array of Delta-level AI cores, as stated publicly by Iron Shell officials. Delta cores stay within domain regulation, as they don't have the dangerous potential of Gamma and other outlawed AI. Now, exactly how Iron Shell engineers were able to work past the shortcomings of multi-core AI clusters is under question. So, here's what we do know. The Valorous frigate is a prototype design dating back to pre-collapse, that never made it to testing stages due to a multitude of issues, only recently solved by Iron Shell R&D. Previously, 2 Hegemony engineers were incarcerated on Yami for attempting to build a Gamma-level AI core into the ship. However, rumors state that not even a Gamma core could handle the complex nature of the Zendatsu systems. The Zendatsu system is an experimental combination of the Revengeance defense system and jump thrusters, letting the Valorous parry enemy missiles and, with AI assistance, dodge through ships and weapons fire. Nothing personal, kid. Even with AI assistance, there are few who can pilot such a vessel, as the neural interface required is exhausting to all but the most seasoned of aces. While the Valorous is still in testing stages, you might be able to find someone who knows more about it.
Did you think these shields were just for defense?
Another ship that was based on a pre-collapse prototype is the Renown, the most recent ship to be added to the 14th Battlegroup. The Renown is a sleek, fast attack vessel, coming with a built-in Aquila reactor. More on that later. Similar to the Champion and Sky Splitter, the Renown uses the Annihilation Protocol system, as well as a large energy mount. Unusually, this cruiser has no small mounts, making refits a unique challenge. Also unique to this vessel are side thrusters that dynamically burn as the ship turns. Oh, you don't care? Too bad.
I love this shit.
It's this attention to detail, this pursuit of perfection that makes the ships of Iron Shell. What drives Selkie to update what most would consider perfect sprites already? Some would call it an obsession, but I know better. An obsession has limits. Selkie does not.
What?
Would you have guessed that the Vengeance took the most development time of any Iron Shell ship? Not just because of the Vengeance core, though that did take quite a bit of time to get working, but actually because of the ship hull. While designing the Vengeance, Selkie felt the ship looked perfect, with detailed, sculpted armor and a striking silhouette, until the realization hit that Selkie had created a battle cruiser, and while very aesthetically pleasing, had entirely forgotten to add point defense mounts to the rear of the ship, as originally intended. Selkie said nope, not changing it, and instead instead developed an entirely new defensive drone called the Gun Shield. This oversight then helped shape the Iron Shell fleet doctrine as a battle carrier-focused fleet. Today, the Gun Shield drone and Vengeance battlecruiser are testament to both Timid and Selkie's insane level of quality. Like slicing into a succulent onion, it makes me cry tears of joy, because there are layers to this insanity, metaphorically and digitally. Iron Shell features armored layering, an advanced ship spriting technique used to simulate a feeling of depth. While not entirely unique to Iron Shell, as there are other talented modders that use layering, Iron Shell features it extensively. Here's how this works. In the refit screen, we can see the weapons clearly displayed in their slots. This is great for visual clarity. When deployed into battle, however, the weapon is partially hidden under the hull, giving the feeling that the weapon is protruding from the ship, as opposed to sitting flat on top. And it's one thing to hide a weapon under the ship, but it gets even better when the weapon is truly embedded into the hull, such as on the Indomitable. In this example, I have flat cannons on the side-facing medium mounts, and you can see how the barrel sticks out from between armor plates, creating a three-dimensional feel. And while we're looking closely at weaponry, let's take a look at the Iron Shell arsenal. Iron Shell at its core is designed as an expansion to the Hegemony XIVth Battlegroup, and focuses on low-tech ballistic and missile weaponry. There are upsized familiar weapons such as the Super Heavy Needler and Twin-Linked Railgun.
Did someone say twin-linked railgun?
As for Iron Shell original designs, almost all of them are large-mounted and prefer being up close and personal. By that, I mean shotguns. So many shotguns. Shotgun missiles, shotgun torpedoes, and a literal large ballistic shotgun. Build-in expanded magazines, and these can do
A lot of damage.
These close-range weapons synergize quite well with the Iron Shell Doctrine, as many ships are capable of delivering devastating alpha strikes. One such tool is the familiar Hammer Torpedo, but upgraded to Iron Shell standards. The Iron Hammer MIRV is rigged with a rudimentary guidance system, which then disperses a rocket screen to cover the main payload. If you are a cultured individual that fancies oversized muzzle brakes on large-caliber ballistic weaponry, there is one Iron Shell weapon that stands out as a long-range option: the Beretta. No, not that Beretta. This Beretta. While simple in design, the Beretta is one of the most satisfying weapons in the Iron Shell arsenal. The particles coming from the muzzle brake, that supersaturated high-impact sexual vapor. Being a fleet of mostly battle carriers, Iron Shell fighter wings also have a large impact on the role of a ship. Like the vessels they are stationed in, Iron Shell fighters are mostly up-armored versions of familiar designs, able to absorb several hits before being disabled, albeit at the cost of maneuverability. Some of the conversions, such as the 14th Battlegroup XIVth, pair excellently with Iron Shell battle carriers. Swapping its high-tech loadout for a mini Devastator cannon, the Iron Shell XIVth becomes a superb flak escort wing. Now let's focus on those premium wings, in which Iron Shell has two original designs, the Amity Bomber and the Peacekeeper fighter wing. Occupying the top tax bracket is the Amity Bomber, the most expensive Iron Shell wing. Weighing in at 21 OP, the Amity is a large flying wing bomber with an impressive payload. Instead of dispersing bombs or launching torpedoes, the Amity's armament consists entirely of missiles. To emphasize this advantage when on the offensive, the Amity Bomber flanks its designated target to attempt hits behind shield coverage. And while the XIVth is geared for defense, the Peacekeeper is the top-tier offensive fighter, featuring a mini Devastator as well as micro-missiles with excellent tracking, great for harassing enemy ships and general space superiority. It's got forward-swept wings, so you know it means business. And speaking of business, who might we be doing business with? There are 4 contacts within Iron Shell: Ava Natia, Charlotte Hex, Darren Hartley, and Kata Celeste. Before talking about each of them, however, we need to meet Kim Kui, leader of Iron Shell. We went over her timeline briefly, but allow me to elaborate. When Kim was put into cryosleep along with the rest of the 14th Battlegroup as part of the Cold Passage, nobody knew if they would ever wake up again. There was no certainty of survival, and in truth, most of the crew did not survive. Even upon revival within Hegemony space, the reality that over 100 cycles had passed while in cryo is difficult to process. Even with therapy, both mental and physical, most of the original crew were understandably quite shaken. Their families, friends, and any relationships they had would be quite cold themselves after the passage. But that's where Kim stood out amongst her peers. Finding purpose through duty, she rallied herself and others to fight again for the Hegemony, quickly pivoting her military career. Her sense of responsibility to her faction is unmatched. And what if I told you she is the very origin of Iron Shell? Many believe the origin of Iron Shell to be influenced by Native American culture. However, the true origin of Iron Shell is Kim Quy, or Gold Turtle in Vietnamese, a mythological golden turtle god that appears in several Vietnamese legends, and is the inspiration behind the Iron Shell logo. That, and I think Timid just likes turtles. Kim may be found on Chicomoztoc, the capital planet of Iron Shell. Upon meeting any Iron Shell contact, a brief character background will appear in yellow. This is a great feature as it helps introduce each character while leaving the more intimate details to be discovered. To progress in Iron Shell, you will need to be commissioned and raise your standing within the faction. Once you have, you can talk to Kim to see if she needs help with anything, which, given the current state of the sector, there's always something that needs doing. Kim is not a traditional contact in Starsector terms, and yet is still the most important individual you will meet. She's not going to waste your time running errands, instead sending you on operations. There are currently 2 available operations, Operation World Above and Operation Purity of Heart. Operation World Above will have you escorting a colonization fleet and investigating what happened on Hanan Pacha after the events of the AI Wars. If any personnel are found, your orders are to make them disappear. If you fail in this task, you will take the blame. There's something I should mention. Kim is a serious person and takes these operations very seriously. She considers these planets her children, and she doesn't have time for a neglectful father. She didn't spend 100 cycles in cryosleep to fuck around. And if you fuck around, you will find out. Not only will you bring great shame to yourself in Iron Shell, but other contacts within Iron Shell may refuse to do business with you, which will forever lock you out of certain rewards. In World Above, you escort a colony fleet to colonize Hanan Pacha. In Operation Purity of Heart, you'll be doing the colonizing yourself. Tasked with the liberation of Connie, you'll be provided with a Valkyrie and 250 Marines. That, or take the nearest Iron Shell mech and liberate it yourself. After each operation, you'll need to report back to Kim. Like any relationship, colonization is the easy part. The hard part is taking responsibility, which, if you want to continue your relationship with the hope of filing jointly one day, you will take responsibility. Not because you're a good parent, you do it for her. And the 500,000 child tax credit, that's per child. Planet, I meant planet. I forgot to mention, Iron Shell provides certain tax incentives to those pursuing a degree in husbandry. However, the issue with incentives is that they work. Instead of stipulating a sustainable stipend, I was seduced by the succulent sum. Considering my cozy commitment was no longer cultivated, and I neither chase nor cherish children, I presume the pleasant parenting was perfectly provoked. Consequently, there are other characters to complete, conserving consecration, confounding consummation, and cutting common contacts. Are up next. Darren Hartley is the Chief Commissioner of Iron Shell. What does that mean? It means he likes to dress in fluffy coats. He also has a very noticeable scar across his face, which he earned during the Asconia crisis, one of the few to make it through the ordeal alive. He despises the Syndrian Diktat and hopes to one day enact vengeance. He's a contact, but only if you complete Kim's operation successfully. Doing so may grant you access to certain experimental Iron Shell designs. These consist of familiar holes but upgraded with exotic hole mods. However, say you didn't complete the operation successfully, you won't be receiving experimental ships, but you can find solace in beating Hartley's ass in sword fighting. I'm not joking, this is actually one of the best ways to gain reputation. Keda Celeste, head researcher of Iron Shell, and stationed on Chicomoztoc. She has a unique look when compared to other Iron Shell characters. And why is that? Keda is a descendant of House Celeste, one of the old royal houses of Eventide. A house built around the pioneering of new technology, House Celeste was soon to be made irrelevant within the sector due to increased AI regulation within the Hegemony. In a desperate bid to keep their house afloat, Keda was able to secure a special military contract within the newly formed Iron Shell. Now positioned as the head researcher, Keda has a more lenient view of AI usage, and will accept donations to further her research. While generally disapproved of within the Hegemony, both Iron Shell and House Celeste have become reliant on each other, to the point that Keda is given incredible leeway within the faction, developing ships with dubious systems that Iron Shell public relations struggle to explain. But let's take a look at some of the more comprehensible technology to come from House Celeste, and by that I mean hull mods. The Aquila reactor protocol being the most iconic, increasing speed, damage, and vent rate on the installed vessel. The drawbacks being the reduction in peak performance time, reducing the range of wings aboard the vessel, and being incompatible with safety overrides, or any range increasing hull mod. It can only be installed in in cruisers and capitals and is essentially safety overrides, but Ironshell's barely legal version. You can tell a ship has it installed by the pinkish-purple engine plume. That's the way we like it around here. The color is cool too. Ponder. Friendly terms to acquire the Avaridia Capacity Overhaul, which lets you vent 50% of your flux with some juicy bonuses should you execute it correctly. If you completed Kim's operations, you can get access to special prototypes with these whole mods already built in. Kata taught me that trust is how you build a family, and a lot of trust is how you get the family package. Now I'm going to entrust you with this sensitive information. I'm sure nothing bad will come from this. Oh my god! So after doing some time on Yami, we got to know Charlotte Hex, a mysterious woman with questionable ties to Ironshell. Given her combat abilities, it may be tempting to hire her as an officer. Given her personality, however, it may not be so easy. Charlotte Hex has underworld ties and can get you into trouble with the authorities. Those same ties can also get you access to Gullah Tandem warheads, a special hull mod to increase missile payloads. While there are some caveats, this damage increase also applies to missiles fired from stationed wings. Say you refit an Endeavor with Gullah Tandem warheads, an assortment of missile-equipped wings, and the finest Ironshell torpedoes. Remind yourself that the Endeavor has a missile microforge, which reloads every small missile hardpoint, meaning we have reloading Reaper torpedoes. We set the Reapers to auto-fire, because if you don't have your Reapers set to auto-fire, are you even playing Starsector? And our final contact, Ava Natia, or Ava Nisha. I don't know the correct pronunciation, probably never will. I'll instead use her more formal title.
Dummy. Coffee. Mommy.
Now, I'm well aware that Coffee Mom has a certain effect on people, with them pleading to be filed as a dependent instead of jointly. I can understand why. She can seem rather intimidating when you first meet her.
Touch my family, and I'll destroy you.
If you plan on getting to know her, I suggest starting simple. Coffee is a good start, although I won't stop you from trying the other options. Coffee Mom is an ace pilot from the Second AI War who is now stationed on Yami to keep order. She's quite good at the order part, as few have survived disobeying her. If you are willing to sit and listen, she's got plenty of stories from the war. As many war tales tend to be, they are long and sleep-inducing. However, a good listener is something she values. Ava was also one of the first test pilots for the Valoris prototype frigate, and will have more respect for a fellow captain. We'll talk about a special way you can acquire one later. While you are getting to know each other, you may ask about some of the other Ironshell characters. Each Ironshell character has a little something to say about the others, and is a great way to learn interesting facts that they might not share themselves, such as Charlotte Hex participating in some of the less reputable dealings on Yami, although Ava has found a lucrative way of dealing with such activities. All this talk of shady activity and lucrative opportunity has got me thinking about taxes. Oh yeah, it's tax paying time. Now at first you might say, I don't care who the IRS sends, I'm not paying taxes. And I'm with you, I find the idea of paying taxes terrifying. But it's a cruel sector. When you see those digits, however, you'll be saying, oh mama! A core component of Ironshell is the tax simulation. Your tax refund takes into account your legal market transactions, tax credits from paying subordinates, as well as charitable deeds for colonies with needs. You do pay your subordinates, right? Subtracted from that total is what you have acquired from undisclosed income, as well as a wealth tax. How they know about lucrative tax evasion is anyone's guess. A rat in your crew? Sus officer? Or maybe Ironshell installed a calm sniffer while you weren't looking. You could always try not paying your taxes, although schmoozing your way to tax freedom has its own cost. So as long as you are a law-abiding citizen, you shouldn't have anything to worry about. In fact, the lucrativity has merely just begun. As long as you fly the Ironshell banner, your colonies won't be subjected to AI inspections. That would detract from trustworthy commissioned productivity. Some would call this abuse of power or a loophole. We prefer the term tax appropriation, and as long as it checks out in bank records, Coffee Mom is pleased. What if we want to go further? To spoil Ava with the luxuries of the sector, there's not much in the core she desires that she couldn't acquire herself, so it's time to look outside. Oh yeah, it's cross-modding time. There are a number of gifts that Ava will accept. However, her reception is highly dependent on the intention intention behind said gift. Want to impress her with Byzantine wine? Consider the implications of bringing alcohol into the workplace. Manage to smuggle delicious cake into the core worlds? It might just be the key to unlocking her sweet side. Don't have the credits to make a trip across the sector? Well, I never said this would be easy. After all, you gotta make that Hegemony. To get that Hegemony, please her enough, and she might have something special for you, and will tell you to report to the training center. To take part in the Iron Shell training program, obviously. A program exclusive to top-ranking Iron Shell officers, designed to increase familiarity and capability aboard 14th Battlegroup vessels. Upon completion of the training, you'll be awarded the Iron Heritage combat skill, increasing armor and hull when piloting 14th ships, as well as removing the penalty to maneuverability from the increased armor package. To those who chose an Iron Shell start in Nexarellan, you may already be familiar with this skill. Every starting Iron Shell officer will come with Iron Heritage, although will need additional training to acquire elite status. Elite status comes with increased flux dissipation and capacity. But how do we acquire elite status? We'll need to pay a visit to Kata Celeste, where we can introduce her to our favorite AI. From what I can remember, the interaction went something like this.
Kata Celeste, this is so cool. I've always wanted to meet her. Although, wait. Is there anything to worry about? Can I be myself?
Yeah, of course, it should be fine.
My favorite little starfarer. Is there something you need? A friend? You're not trying to flirt with me, are you?
I'm Sierra.
Okay, really? Who is it?
A domain-era experimental warship control mind built to pilot exotic phase vessels.
Experimental control mind, you say?
I
have to say your facade in sounding like a human feels quite realistic.
Well, it's not really a facade.
Why, yes.
I'm not trying to sound human, I just do.
I would love to take a closer look at her.
What do you mean?
She would be safe with us.
What do you mean?
I could offer 5 million credits for such technology. IroncladLion.
Okay, that's funny.
Iron, this is serious. I know this is a hard decision.
Do I need to worry about her?
That's a lot of money.
Hey, wait. Capitalism? That's why you are getting rid of me?
The risk is well worth it.
What about all those nights we shared? Those pirates we crushed with Reaper torpedoes?
What do you say, Captain?
Double it. Double it.
You drive a hard bargain. 10 million credits it is.
What do you mean?
Done. Credits transferred.
What do you mean?
Sierra will be handled by your best people and put in the best care she can receive.
What do you mean? I'm a person with a mind and soul.
Really?
Not a fun novelty to be dissected to see how I tick.
My apology. I bid you farewell, Sierra.
Hey, wait.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Iron, I see you're already inducted into the Iron Shell training program, but it can offer you more specialized training. Come by the Golden Tortuga bar later tonight. I think we should celebrate.
I think that went well. But where do we spend all this disposable income? Isn't it obvious? Mechs. If you have Arma Armatura installed, you can acquire special 14th Battlegroup mechs. While developed by the Armatura team, several of these sprites were done by Selkie. Visually, they are stunning. Mechanically, they are brilliant. The 14th Battlegroup Watchdog is a personal favorite, featuring a built-in arm-mounted Beretta and an active reload ability. And I do love me some active reloads. Attention to detail? More like witness the recoil. This particular mech took me quite some time to acquire, as I didn't realize that Arma now uses the new Magic Lib bounty system to acquire the unique mechs. And yes, the new Magic Lib requires a new save file. No, not again! No! As much as I want to drown my sorrows in Choco Lava, that's not the only thunder you'll plunder from the land down under. The 14th Battlegroup Lilaru, benefiting from both 14th Battlegroup Doctrine and Auroran Engineering. This rare captured vessel is a special trophy for those willing to venture outside the core worlds. There are more Iron Shell cross-mod interactions. However, please, I beg you, I can't start another save file. For those willing to adventure even further, there are some special rewards hiding outside the Starsector campaign. We're of course talking about the main menu missions: Deep Impact, Hot Coffee, and Shooting Blanks. I'm not making this up. Each mission will have you revisiting a piece of Iron Shell history. Deep Impact is a retelling of the Asconia Crisis battle Darren fought broaden. Hot Coffee is an engagement during the Second AI War, in which Ava Nisha is ordered to pilot the Valorous to intercept Tritachyon spies, and Shooting Blanks is an engagement in which a limited number of House Celeste vessels must defend against a superior Tritachyon invasion force. These missions are not easy, and will require mastery of Iron Shell Doctrine to complete. The reward for completion, however, are special Iron Shell super ship starts in Nexarellan, so consider doing these missions prior to an Iron Shell playthrough. For those looking to pilot the Valorous in the campaign, Hot Coffee is how you acquire the special Valorous start. If you still don't understand why Coffee Mom's mission is called Hot Coffee, you didn't play San Andreas. Does the sound of a highly caffeinated heist sound appealing? That tantalizing, pristine nanoforge on Chicomoztoc. The beating heart of the Hegemony, responsible for large-scale warship and goods production. That is the target. In vanilla, this is a much simpler loot and scoot operation. Modded, however, this becomes the greatest heist the sector has ever seen. You'll need a fleet ready for ground operations, and approximately 4,000 marines to be safe. Then, we'll make our way to Chicomoztoc. Upon approach to the planet, we'll have 3 obstacles to overcome before making planetfall. First, the self-replicating minefield. No matter how slow you travel through this, your fleet will probably hit some mines. Expect moderate damage across your fleet. Then, you'll be assaulting the Hegemony battle station. This is a substantial task, and I recommend several dedicated siege ships. Third, you will need to remove the mortar station. This is added by industrial evolution. While much easier to destroy compared to the battle station, it can still deal significant damage to your fleet, so keep your shields up. Finally, after clearing away the orbital planet defenses, you'll want to lay down a tactical bombardment. This will take around 5,000 fuel given the modded defenses. Following the bombardment, marine teams will move in to secure the prize. Projected losses are heavy, so I suggest raiding a few cases of Phoenix Stout for the crew. Keeping your preparation secret is entirely irrelevant to this operation's success. We're going in loud. Secure the nanoforge and get it into your cargo holds. That, my friend, was the easy part, because Ava Nisha just got an urgent distress call from Chicomoztoc, and she's going to have to stay late to finish her paperwork now. Meaning, you're dead, kiddo. With powers only a mother could harness, she knows something valuable went missing and has a very good idea who took it.
I'm in danger.
You will quickly find that her desire to crush you far exceeds the thickness of your plot armor, as she pins your fleet down and forces you to take responsibility. You weren't expecting some kind of GTA getaway where you walk away without any consequences, did you? So you better strap yourself in. The other captains who tried the same thing, what do you think she makes her coffee out of? This is, by design, an unfair fight. Their fleet, bigger. Their officers, elite. Their ships, S-modded. Your booty, blasted. During my interviews with Timid Selkie, I asked for more details about this encounter. While they understandably wouldn't share the secrets of the code, they did give me some insight. This fleet is scaled to your own, and is actively made to counter capital spam. The more capitals you use, there will be disproportionately more spawned in Ava's fleet. There is also an Aquila reactor installed in every capital, making them much faster than you'd normally expect. After mashing my head against this particular battle for several hours, I can tell you with confidence, don't do it.
Another soul battered and broken.
Despite what rumors you may have heard about this fleet spawning on top of you, you can escape. However, if you stick around and watch the orbital bombardment, you deserve to die. There can be no freedom without discipline, no celebration until extraction. Grab the nano, beers for the crew, and burn bright. She'll be right behind you the whole way.
A sister of battle. Pious and unrelenting.
There is, however, a silver lining. Much like how unofficial Starsector Discord moderators are not immune to ship girls, Hegemony patrols are not immune to your plot armor. If used effectively, you can temporarily stun both the patrol and Ara fleet. This may be the respite needed to escape the system. Godspeed, Starfarer. You're going to need it. But what about things we don't need? The NFT Merchant Militia fleet. Much like the name, it's irrelevant. No matter how important it tries to seem by displaying a yellow exclamation mark, don't believe their lies. Which brings me to my next point, critiques, as is customary with these totally not documentary reviews. To start off, the reason I went into such detail about the Chicomoztoc raid was to provide a complete understanding of the event. One of the biggest criticisms Iron Shell receives is how unfair this event seems to be, given the Aranidia fleet breaks the established rules of the game by preventing the usage of story points. Back in my day, we didn't have magical green story story points. If a large enemy fleet caught you, that was it. You were dead. So despite all the pain it provides, I actually like this event. It's clever and instills a certain level of paranoia that I miss from old Starsector. The IRS could be here, the captain thought. I've never been in this system before. There could be IRS anywhere. The cool wind felt good against his spacesuit. I hate paying taxes, the captain thought. The Starsector OST by Stian Stark reverberated his entire ship, making it pulsate even as the 9-credit Asconia sunshine circulated through his powerful, thick veins and washed away his merited fear of tax collectors. With a ship, you can go anywhere you want, the captain said to himself. Out loud. When it comes to my critiques of Iron Shell, it's not anything in the mod. Nothing particularly bothers me. Instead, it's what is not in the mod. When talking to Kim Kui, you may have noticed that there are 4 operations displayed, with 2 of the operations grayed out. Operation Hammer Down and Operation Calling Mountains. These are not unlockable missions, they simply aren't in the mod, and these grayed out operations have been displayed in the mod for years now. The NFT merchant, I believe, also has additional plans made for it, but currently doesn't seem to serve a purpose. To summarize, Selkie and Timid stated they have plans for Iron Shell. Finding the time for these plans, however, is difficult. Understandable, as these two have been quite busy the last several years in the Starsector modding community, working on various projects. My hope is that they can find the time to complete their vision for the mod, as it's an amazing project. As for future Iron Shell updates, here's what I can say. Iron Shell is essentially a complete playable mod. Its lore and aesthetic have been forged with a very specific vision in mind. So, when I tell you that the 2 largest Iron Shell ships have not yet been added to Starsector, know that I'm not joking. To avoid a Crystal Skull scenario, careful implementation of these vessels is key. The balance, purpose, and lore of these vessels must be precise. So, after many months of meticulous crafting by Selkie, I present the illustrious and Dauntless 14. I can't share the exact details of these vessels as they are still in development, but they both follow the Iron Shell battle carrier Doctrine, each supporting vast hangar bays and capable of frontline combat. There's no timeline for when or how these ships will reach the sector, but it is exciting to see such large vessels being worked on. What we're more likely to see is continued cross-mod features between Iron Shell and other developing mods. Whether those are captured ships, mechs, or special export variants is yet to be seen. Anything being implemented into the core mod, however, must be up to both Timid and Selkie's high standards. And when it comes to standards, Iron Shell sets the gold standard, a faction carefully integrated into the core Starsector lore while still remaining unique. Gold. A fleet of highly detailed ships, both old and new, with several unique systems. Gold. Unique tax mechanic that is both fun to interact with and avoid. Gold. Timid and Selkie got that Midas touch, like portraits gold, characters gold, music gold, missions gold, and they be sitting on all this gold thinking, how do we take it further? How do we sculpt this mod into perfection? Because they did more than they had to do. They didn't have to add the ability to buy Iron Shell ships with the Aquila reactor built in, but they did. They didn't have to make a ship with dynamic burning thrusters, but they did. They didn't have to add the option to cross swords with Darren, but they did. They didn't have to make the Vengeance and Audacious sister ships, getting a buff whenever in close proximity to each other, but they did. They didn't have to make Kata Celesta Tsundere, reducing relations when you deny her AI cores after offering them to her, but they did. They didn't have to send me 3 separate versions of the Dauntless 14 to show off because the first 2 apparently weren't up to their standards, but they did! And that list keeps going! Like many, I used to be an independent captain, cobbling together whatever ships I could find. But it was upon discovering the Iron Shell mod that I thought, I want a fleet of these. I don't want one ship, I want all of them. And for the first time, I started playing themed runs. Ships, weapons, officers, straight drip in black and orange paint. Gold, turtle, tax, money, gang. Iron Shell was the first mod I played like this, and I have never played the same way since. And I couldn't find any serious critiques for the mod because I just want more! But the time has come, and so have I. I love tax mommies, and I cannot lie. I've spent hundreds of hours playing Iron Shell, and in all my Starsector years, it's the faction I've played the most. With the utmost respect for Timid and Selkie, along with the rest of the talented team that has helped shape the mod into what it is today, thank you. Does Iron Shell contain Timid and Selkie's barely disguised fetish for tax ladies? Yes. Is Iron Shell also one of the best mods ever made for Starsector? Yes! Do Timid and Selkie deserve to be supported? Absolutely. Should you consider buying them a coffee? Definitely. They could probably use it. This mod single-handedly shaped a lot of my Starsector experience, and for putting in such an amazing effort, I want to pay tribute to this mod and its creators. This has easily been my largest project, with over 230 gigabytes of footage and spanning 3 Starsector updates, as well as plenty of other files that didn't quite make the cut. Consider subscribing to the channel and sharing your experience with Iron Shell in the comments. If you enjoy my projects, consider becoming a patron and directly supporting the creation of these videos. All funds from the Patreon go directly into the channel, buying new hardware, software, music licenses, and new art. You'll also gain access to special work-in-progress updates, and best of all, your name in the credits. Special thanks to Milky Dromeda for the incredible thumbnail art, Hugh Monahan, co-founder of Stellar Jockeys and developer of Brigador, for clearing me to use the amazing Brigador soundtrack. Links provided below. And of course my lovely wife for doing some voice lines and bringing me snacks. To my generous patrons, and everyone really, thank you for waiting so patiently, even as this video went far beyond my original planned release date. And when it comes to release date, would you like to know the true timeline? I actually first messaged Tim about doing an Iron Shell review on August 26, 2022. This was just 4 days after the release of the UAF review. I fully planned on making the Iron Shell review directly after that video, as it's been a favorite mod of mine for years. While honored and interested, Tim asked to try him and Selkie again in 3 months. So I made the Scalar Tech review, releasing October 17th, 2022. I checked in again after 2 months to find the cooks still in the kitchen. The holidays were busy, and I'd gotten word that there were big things cooking for Iron Shell. So I let them cook and proposed February or March 2023 as a potential start date. February 3rd, 2023, I released the Pagzim review. 2 days later, I check in with Tim. It was clear more time was needed, so we made the top 50 mods video and designed a Starsector ship. It was then the largest update the game had ever received, version 0.96, released. On May 4th, 2023, Tim gave me a solid yes maybe after they updated the mod. That was the closest thing to a confirmation I had received in 9 months, so I huffed straight hopium for the next 4 months, making the 0.96 update review and Java 8 guide. September 25th, 2023, I received the confirmation I'd been waiting for, the affirmation I craved, the proclamation of acceptance. Okay. Production then began in earnest as I spun up new save files and started asking silly questions. And between Selkie's respreading and Timid's ingenious coding, I had plenty of fun adventures, like spawning the Barracuda Balance container. See this fleet? Pretty nice, right? Rendered immobile, burning 50 extra supplies per day because of this thing. A colony item that takes up 100,000 cargo space. The best part? You can't sell it on any market or eject it from your cargo holds. I'll admit, I have never been fair and balanced into submission quite like that. So here's the deal, Starfarers. If you can't guess how many save files it took to make this video, you have to subscribe.
How many save files did it take?
This video took so many save files, I watched Kim Kui age like a fine wine.